Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is genuinely great to have you with us again.
It is great to be here.
We are doing something a little bit different today, something that I think really speaks to the heart of what this show is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, you know the drill. We take a stack of articles, maybe a really dense academic paper or, a whole nonfiction book, and we just tear it apart.
Right. We try to find the signal in the noise. We usually start with the content itself, the meat and potatoes.
The arguments inside the chapters,
Yeah.
exactly. But today, we are going to pause.
Yeah.
We're going to pause before we even open the book.
Okay.
We're going to test that old saying.
Okay.
You know, the one your librarian probably scolded you with 1,000 times as a kid.
Oh, I know this one. Don't judge a book by its cover.
That's the one.
Yeah.
But today, we are going to do the opposite. We are going to aggressively judge a book by its cover.
We are. We're going to judge it, we're going to analyze it, and we are going to, I think, completely dismantle it. Because the premise for this deep dive is that sometimes, maybe even often, the cover isn't just wrapping paper.
Right.
Sometimes, if you know how to read the codes, the cultural codes, the linguistic codes, the cover is, it's a manifesto.
Manifesto. Wow.
Yeah. It tells you the methodology, the theology, the entire authority structure behind the work, and even the target audience, all before you've read a single sentence of the actual text.
So it's almost like a DNA sample of the book.
That is a perfect way to put it. I was going to say a blueprint, but DNA sample is even better.
Yeah.
Especially in the world of classical, or let's say traditional texts, the cover is designed to be judged.
So the saying is just wrong.
Yeah.
In this context.
It's completely wrong. It's a signaling mechanism. It's meant to tell the potential reader, hey, this is the kind of intellectual project you are about to step into. Are you ready?
Okay, so let's introduce the specimen on the table today. We're looking at a scan of a book cover. It's a theological text. The title is, and get ready for this, because it sounds heavy, 12 Negated Attributes of Allah in the Book and Prophetic Sunnah.
Or, for the purists listening who want the flavor of the original Arabic, which you can see right there on the graphic, it's 12 Sifa Allah al-Manfiya fi al-Kitab al-Sunnah al-Nabawiyya.
It is a mouthful. And honestly, my initial impression when I looked at this cover, it feels heavy. It feels incredibly specific.
It does.
And there is a bit of mystery to it. I mean, negated attributes, what does that even mean? And why exactly 12, not 10, not 15?
Yeah.
12. It feels very precise, almost surgical.
It is incredibly precise, and that's our mission for today. The goal is to unpack all the information that is just presented right there on the front of this work.
Just from the cover.
Just from the cover.
Yeah.
We're going to analyze the title, the author whose name is Maher bin Abdulhamid bin Muqaddam. And this is a huge part of it, maybe the biggest, the endorsement by a major scholar named Shu'ai al-Arnaut.
So the goal is to figure out the framework of this entire study just by decoding what we see on this one page.
Precisely. We want to understand why this book was written, what kind of weight it carries in the theological world, and what it's trying to teach us, all before we even think about turning to page 1.
I love this. It's like theological detective work.
It is forensic analysis of a book cover.
Okay, so let's start with just looking at the object itself. We have the source here, which is, as we said, a scanned copy. I noticed immediately there's a stamp on the top right that says mosswhiteleen.com.
Right, and that's a small detail, but it actually tells us a lot about the modern life of these kinds of classical texts.
How so?
Well, Masrat means something like scanned things or photocopies. It's a repository. It's a website of PDFs, a place where students of knowledge all over the world go to get access to texts that might be out of print or just really hard to find in their local bookstore.
So this represents the digitization of this whole field of knowledge, this heritage.
Exactly. This book started its life as a physical object. You can imagine a hardcover text designed to sit on a wooden shelf in a library in, say, Cairo or Riyadh. But its reach has now been extended through this digitization. It shows that there is an active modern audience hunting for these very specific, you might even say niche theological works.
So it's not just some dusty old book. People are actively seeking it out online.
People are scanning it, uploading it, downloading it. It's part of the democratization of this knowledge.
And looking at the cover design itself, describe it for the listener who can't see it. It definitely doesn't look like a modern paperback you'd grab at an airport.
No, not at all. This follows the classic aesthetic of what's called Turath, or heritage works. It's a black sort of leather-style background. And you have the text in that intricate, flowing gold calligraphy, it just screams authority. It looks serious.
It looks expensive. It looks timeless. It's trying to tell you something before you even read the words.
It's signaling to the reader immediately. This is a traditional religious text. It's meant to sit on a shelf alongside volumes of history and law that have been there for centuries.
And the publishers, their logos are at the bottom.
Right. The publishers listed at the bottom, Maktabat al-Imam al-Dahabi and Dar al-Arab al-Thaqafiyya, they are leaning into that prestige.
What do you mean?
Well, they aren't trying to be edgy or modern. They are trying to look eternal. The name of the first publisher, the Library of Imam al-Dahabi, is a direct callback to a major classical scholar. They want you to associate this book with that history.
Okay, so we've got the vibe. It's serious, it's traditional, it's authoritative. Now let's get into the meat of it, the title.
Yes.
12 negated attributes. That phrase, sifat manfiya, stood out to me immediately. I feel like we talk a lot about the attributes of God in various religious traditions.
Yeah.
You know, mercy, power, knowledge.
The positive attributes.
Yeah, those are positive things.
Yeah.
God is merciful. God is powerful. But this is focusing on the negative, what God is not. It feels counterintuitive.
It is a fascinating distinction, and you've hit on the absolute core of what this book is about. Let's break down the Arabic linguistics in the title first, because it's all there.
Right.
You have sifat, that's the easy part. It just means attributes or qualities or descriptions.
Got it. Attributes.
And then you have al-manfiya. This comes from the root word nafi, which means to negate, to deny, to reject, or to exclude.
So the denied attributes or the excluded attributes.
Exactly, the negated attributes. In Islamic theology, and actually in many classical theistic traditions, this isn't unique, there is this dual way of knowing the divine.
Okay.
You have the sifat thubutiyya, which are the positive attributes you mentioned. God is all hearing, God is all seeing, God is all powerful. That affirms perfection by adding a quality.
Right, that makes sense. You were saying he has this ability. That's how we normally think.
That's how we normally think. But then you have the other side of the coin, the other half of knowledge. How else do you describe perfection?
I don't know.
You also describe it by removing imperfection. You define the divine by what he is not.
Okay, let's unpack this. This is the aha moment for me because usually when I define something by what it's not, it feels like I'm describing a void. Like if I say this room is not cold and this room is not dark, I haven't really told you what the room is. It just feels vague.
In our daily language, talking about rooms, you're absolutely right, it's insufficient. But when you are talking about the absolute, about the divine, negation is a way of asserting utter distinctness and perfection.
How did that work?
Well, think of it this way. If you say, God is not unjust, you aren't just saying there is a lack of injustice. That's too passive. You are actively affirming the perfection of his justice. The negation serves the affirmation.
Oh, I see. So the negation isn't the end point. It's a mechanism to protect the positive attribute on the other side.
Exactly. It protects the attribute from contamination by our limited human understanding. Think of it like this. Humans have power, right?
Sure.
But we get tired. Our power runs out. We need to recharge.
Right.
So when you describe God's power, you can say God is all-powerful, but to make sure no one misunderstands that, you add the negation. And he does not get tired. That does not is the sifat manfiya. It purifies the concept of power.
So by saying he is not weak, you are actually just reinforcing the idea that he is all-powerful. But you're removing any human association we might have with the word power.
You've hit the nail on the head. If you say God does not sleep, you are reinforcing his eternal vigilance, his attribute of being the ever-living, the self-sustaining. The negation clears away our human limitations.
That is fascinating. It really flips the script on how we usually learn. We usually learn lists of what things are. You know, here are the features of your new phone. We don't get a manual that says, here are the 12 things your phone is not.
Unless you're doing safety training.
Right. That's a great point.
Do not put your phone in the microwave. Do not submerge it in lava.
Laughs, right? It's a list of boundaries. Don't do this.
Boundaries are a great way to put it. It's about a core theological concept called Tanzih, which is the act of declaring God to be utterly transcendent, far removed from any imperfection or similarity to his creation.
So this whole book is a guide to Tanzih.
A guide to Tanzih. And the title suggests that the author, Maher bin Muqaddam, has gone through the scripture and has identified 12 specific instances where the text explicitly says God is not X.
That's so cool. Okay, so it's interesting that he limits it to 12. But before we get to the number, let's look at the second part of the title.
Let's do it.
It says, in the book and the prophetic sunnah. That's في الكتاب والسنة النبوية.
This is the methodology. We've just decoded the topic is negated attributes. Now, the title is telling us the how. How did he arrive at this list of 12?
It's his source citation right on the cover.
It is. So when the title says the book, or Al-Kitab, in this context, it refers specifically and exclusively to the Quran. It is the book with a capital T, capital B.
Okay, so that's the first source. And the Sunnah.
Al-Sunnah al-Nabawiyya refers to the prophetic tradition. That means the hadith, the collection of sayings, actions, and tacit approvals attributed to the Prophet Muhammad.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Please.
Why is it so important that he put that in the title? Like, wouldn't we just assume a Muslim theological book is based on the Quran and Hadith? Isn't that the default setting?
That is a great question, and the answer is no, it's not always the default. You might assume it, but in the long history of Islamic theology, that hasn't always been the case.
Really?
Absolutely. There are entire schools of theology, for instance, that rely very heavily on what's called kalam.
Kalam, what's that?
It's often translated as speculative theology or dialectical theology. It's a method that uses rationalist philosophy, pure logic, often borrowing from frameworks of Greek metaphysics to arrive at theological truths.
So he is drawing a line in the sand. He's making a statement.
He is. By explicitly stating, in the book and the Sunnah, the author is signaling a very specific traditionalist methodology known as the Athari school of thought.
So he's telling one group of theologians, this book is for you, and another group, this book is not for you.
In a way, yes. He's telling the reader, I am not deriving these attributes from pure philosophical reasoning. I am not sitting in an armchair using abstract logic to decide what God must or must not be.
He's saying, I'm a reporter, not an inventor. I'm just citing my sources.
He is saying, I am restricting myself to revelation. It's a very deliberate choice. If the Quran says, God does not get tired, that's a negated attribute on his list. If an authenticated hadith says God does not die, that's a negated attribute. If some philosophical argument just suggests it, but it's not explicitly in the text, this author is implying he will not include it in this specific list of 12.
That makes the project feel much more empirical in a textual sense. He's not speculating, he's mining the data of the text.
It is a text-centric approach. It's an appeal to a reader who values scripture above speculation, who wants to ground their beliefs in direct statements from the divine sources.
That makes the number 12 even more intriguing now.
Right.
Because surely you could argue there are a million things God is not. God is not a chair. God is not a podcast host. God is not a cloud. Why 12? What's so special about that number?
And that, I think, is the pedagogical genius of a title like this. You are absolutely right. Logically, the things God is not are infinite. You cannot list everything God is not.
That's impossible.
It's impossible. But you can't teach infinite to a student.
Right. You need a syllabus.
Yeah.
You can't put the infinite list of negations on a final exam.
Exactly. The number 12 implies that the author has combed through the texts, the book, and the Sunnah, and has found 12 major categorical negations that form the absolute core of this doctrine of Tanzih.
So he's curated a list, the greatest hits of negation.
The greatest hits is a great way to put it. It turns a vast, abstract, potentially overwhelming theological concept into a digestible and, importantly, a memorizable list for the learner.
His structure, it's taking the entire ocean of theology and putting it into 12 clean bottles so you can actually hold it, look at it, and drink it.
Beautifully put. And that structure is what makes a book like this so useful in a traditional learning environment. It's not just a reference work. It's a teaching tool.
Yeah.
It's meant to be studied, memorized, and then taught to others.
So we have the topic, which is negated attributes.
Yes.
And we have the methodology, which is scripture only, organized into 12 clear points.
Right.
But there is something else on this cover that you pointed out to me before we started recording, and you said it was the heavyweight champion of the whole page.
It is. It's the red stamp, so to speak. It's the ultimate seal of approval. If you look at the cover, right in the center, inside that big golden graphical frame, there is a section that says Tatim.
Taqdim. Okay, what does that word mean?
Taqdim means introduction, or presentation by, or forward by.
So someone else wrote the introduction.
Someone else. And the name underneath it is massive. It's printed almost as big as the author's own name. It says, Fadila al-Sheikh al-Alama Muhadith al-Ash'uib al-Arnaut.
Okay, that is a lot of titles. Sheikh, I know, but Alama and Motot al-Azhar. You have to break those down for me.
Okay, so Fadila al-Sheikh is a standard honorific, the virtuous scholar. Al-Alama is a step up, It implies someone who is profoundly learned, an erudite scholar of the highest rank.
So a very big deal.
A very big deal. But the real key here, the phrase that makes this cover valuable to a collector or a serious student, the one that makes you stop and say, wow, is Muhadith al-Azhar.
The Hadith scholar of the era.
Exactly. A Muhadith is a specialist in the science of Hadith. Their entire job is verification. They're the ones who comb through the chains of narration, the isnad, to determine if a saying attributed to the Prophet is authentic, sahih, or good, hasan, or weak, da'if, or even fabricated.
It's the ultimate quality control. They're the fact checkers of the tradition.
The ultimate quality control. And Shuaib al-Arnaut was an absolute titan in this field. He passed away in 2016, but he is known globally for his work in editing and verifying major collections of hadith. We're talking about encyclopedic works, tens of thousands of narrations that he and his team audited for authenticity.
Wow. Okay, so this guy is a legend in his field.
A legend. So here's the question. Why is his name, the name of a hadith verifier, on the front cover of a book about theology, about the attributes of God?
Oh, wait, I think I see it. It connects back to the title.
Go on.
If the book claims its methodology is based on the Sunnah, the prophetic tradition,
Bingo.
then you need someone to vouch for that tradition.
You're claiming these 12 negated attributes are found in what the Prophet said. Well, the first question a critical reader will ask is, how do we know the Prophet actually said these things?
And that's where you need the muhadith.
You need the verifier. You need the expert. Having Shuaib al-Arnaut write the introduction is the ultimate signal to the reader. It says, the sources in this book have been vetted.
It's an endorsement of the author's research.
It's more than that. It tells the reader that when the author, Mar, cites a hadith to prove a theological point, that citation is solid. It's not based on folklore. It's not based on weak stories people like to tell. It's based on verified, authenticated text.
That is a huge selling point. It's like buying a used car and seeing a sticker on the windshield that says, engine personally verified by the top mechanic at Ferrari.
That is a perfect analogy. You stop worrying about what's under the hood. You just know it's going to run.
You trust it immediately.
You trust it immediately. And visually, the publisher knows this. That's why his name is front and center in huge gold letters. For a certain type of reader, the learner we always talk about, seeing the name Shuaib al-Arnaut is an immediate trust signal. It resolves the anxiety of, is this information accurate? Can I rely on this?
It says you can.
It shouts it.
So we have the superstar introducer. But let's not forget to give some credit to the actual author. We mentioned him briefly, Mar bin Abdul Hamid bin Muqaddam.
Right. And it's a really important distinction to make. Shuaib al-Arnaut is the introducer, the validator, the co-signer. But Maher bin Muqaddam is the author. He is the one who did the primary work of compiling, analyzing, and structuring these 12 traits into a coherent book.
So using our car analogy, Arnaut is the Ferrari mechanic who signs off on the engine, but Muqaddam is the one who actually built the car.
Exactly. While Arnaut is the global authority lending his weight, Muqaddam is the researcher presenting this specific synthesis, this specific curriculum of 12 points.
And the interplay between the two names on the cover, it shows a kind of relationship, right? Of mentorship or endorsement.
It does. It shows the senior scholar elevating the work of a researcher he trusts. It's a common practice in this kind of publishing, and it's a way of passing the torch, of giving credibility to new scholarship.
And we touched on the publisher, Maktabat al-Imam al-Dahabi. You mentioned that name al-Dahabi is significant.
It is. Imam al-Dahabi was a classical scholar, a historian, and a master of hadith criticism from the 14th century. He was famous for his critical biographical dictionaries, where he would assess the reliability of thousands of narrators.
So he was a verifier, too.
A verifier of the highest caliber. So naming your publishing house Imam al-Dahabi Library is a very deliberate branding choice. It evokes that legacy of rigorous, critical, traditional scholarship.
It suggests that they aren't publishing, I don't know, fluff or pop theology.
Exactly. They are signaling that they publish serious, reference-quality works that are in line with that classical source-based methodology. The publisher's name reinforces the message of the whole cover.
And then we have that little digital sticker again on the top right, Abd al-Rahman al-Najdi, and the website. It's just interesting to me to think about the journey of this book.
It's a fascinating journey.
It started as a manuscript, an idea in the author's head. It became this beautifully designed black and gold physical object meant for library. And now, its most common form might be this PDF living on a server being discussed by us right now.
It is the full life cycle of modern knowledge. A book like this, with this specific of a topic, 12 negated attributes, might have only been accessible to students in a specific seminary or a major university library 20 or 30 years ago.
You'd have to travel to get it.
You would. Now, because of these preservation efforts indicated by that stamp from maswarat.com and the person who uploaded it, Abdal Rahman al-Najdi, a curious learner anywhere in the world, from Kansas to Kuala Lumpur, can download it and start diving into the theology of negation.
Okay, so we've broken down the title, the people, the methodology, the branding. Let's bring it all together in our synthesis segment, the big so what question.
Let's do it.
Why would someone pick up a book solely about negated attributes? It still feels a little strange to focus only on the negative.
It is a great question. Why focus on what God is not? And I think based on everything we've decoded from the cover, the title, the strict adherence to Book and Sunnah, the heavyweight endorsement, this book is likely intended as a defense against confusion.
Confusion about what?
Confusion about who God is. We live in a world that is saturated with anthropomorphism.
Meaning making God human-like.
Exactly. Projecting human qualities and, more importantly, human limitations onto God. We get tired, so we might subconsciously assume God gets tired. We forget things, so we might imagine God forgets. We are born and we die, so we struggle to comprehend what it means to be truly eternal.
We make God in our own image instead of the other way around.
That's the perennial danger in theology, and that is what this theology of negation, or Tanzih, tries to prevent. By listing the negated attributes, the book is essentially a giant stop sign. It's saying, stop, don't go there. Your human logic is leading you to a flawed conclusion.
So it's setting up guardrails on the highway of belief.
Perfect analogy. It provides boundaries for the mind. It says, God is not forgetful. God does not sleep. God does not die. God is not unjust. By clarifying these 12 specific, textually grounded negations, it clears away the debris of our limited imagination.
And by clearing the debris, it allows the positive attributes to shine through more clearly.
Precisely. It allows the believer to understand the positive attributes like knowledge, power, life without corrupting them with human limitations.
It's like cleaning a window. You have to wipe away all the dirt, the negations, the imperfections, so you can clearly see the light coming through from the other side.
That is beautiful. That's exactly it. You're not focused on the dirt. You're focused on the clarity it creates. And practically, the educational value is in that number 12.
The curriculum.
The curriculum. It transforms a complex, intimidating topic apophatic theology, if you want the fancy academic term for this, into a structured, manageable course. It makes it accessible.
You can teach a class on this, a 12-week course.
A 12-week course. You can memorize it. It empowers the average learner to hold a very sophisticated theological framework in their head without needing a PhD in philosophy. It's an act of educational empowerment.
We really have judged this book by its cover today, but I feel like we got a whole story out of it, an entire manifesto, like you said.
We did. The cover told us the method, scripture only. It told us the content, 12 specific negations. It told us the verification process, endorsed by the Hadith scholar of the era. And it told us the pedagogical goal, create a clear, memorizable curriculum.
It's all there if you know how to look.
It really is.
Okay, let's wrap up with some final takeaways. When you step back and look at this whole package, what is the one thing that's really sticking with you?
For me, it's that powerful combination of the stated methodology in the book and the Sunnah with the name of the validator, Shu'aib al-Arnut. It's the insistence on verification.
The intellectual rigor.
The rigor, yes. It communicates that it's not enough to just have a theological idea that feels right. You have to prove it. You have to ground it in the authentic, verified text. In an age of misinformation, that commitment to source criticism is, it's just incredibly impressive to see laid out so clearly.
I like that. For me, it's the 12. I just love the idea of taking something infinite and unknowable and giving it a handle so that we can grasp it. It's not about diminishing the concept, but about making it approachable. It feels like a kindness to the learner.
It really is. It's an act of mercy from the teacher to the student.
And before we go, we always like to leave the listener with a provocative thought, something to chew on after the deep dive is over.
Okay. Here is what I'm thinking, based on this whole discussion. The title specifies negated attributes. In our modern lives, in our culture, we are completely obsessed with addition, with positive attributes.
What do you mean?
We define ourselves by what we can do, what we can be, what we can acquire. Our resumes are lists of positive attributes, our jobs, our hobbies, our skills.
Right. I am a writer. I am a runner. I am fluent in this language.
Exactly. It's all about what we are. But this whole book is structured around the opposite principle. So the thought is this. How does our understanding of the world and maybe even of ourselves change when we start defining things by what they are not? What boundaries do we need to set to create clarity in our own lives? Maybe true understanding doesn't always come from adding more and more descriptions, but from decisively saying, I am not this. This project is not that. Our goal is not this. Maybe there is a profound power in negation that we often overlook in our rush to accumulate positives.
That is deep, defining the sculpture by chipping away the stone that it is not.
Precisely. What are you left with when you remove all the imperfections?
I love that. Something to think about for sure. Thank you so much for guiding us through this forensic analysis of a book cover.
It was a pleasure. It shows how much is hidden in plain sight.
It really does.
Yep.
And to our listener, thank you for joining us on this exploration of a classical theological title. It's been a real pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Keep diving deep.